Hello, my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.2.2, in which I am attempting to make Kerbals a multiplanetary species. In this episode, we are just now coming up on the Starlifter shuttle with the fuel tanker that I have sent up from Minimus's surface. We are whipping it around and getting that in close to perform our refueling operation. Alright, so we are on approach, but I have made this a little bit difficult for myself because there's all kinds of stuff protruding. So it looks like I can get it on the side here without any real issues, but it's just a matter of actually knowing where I am in three-dimensional space related to the other vessel without having a docking alignment indicator or anything fun. So it looks like we are pretty darn close. So we just want to move up and down straight towards it a little bit more. Kill our horizontal velocity relative to the other vessel because we are just about there. Whoa, 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 whoa. Up, 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 up. Okay, how are we doing? Where am I going now? There, 0.0. That's what we're looking for, and this is alarmingly close. So we'll save this, jump over. I sincerely hope somebody has a wrench in here. Newly, surely you have a wrench. You don't, and don't call me Shirley. Gersey. Gersey? Module has no hatch. Well, of course. Of course, of course. Move up here. Gersey. Gersey has one. Huzzah. Okay. Transfer. Well, that's not the right button. EVA. Alright, moving quickly. With the sincere hope that nothing smashes into anything else. Oops. Alright. Alright. I do wish everything was pointed in a different direction, but this will be fine. This will be just fine. So we are just going to hover right in and whoa, 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 what the heck? Please to be careful. Alright, so now we're moving this on down. There should be a matching port on the opposite side, I do believe. So we'll just plug this right here. Why is this rotating? Please stop rotating. This is how things explode. Speaking of which, F5 and link. What could possibly go wrong? 5 credits says this thing shakes itself apart. Link. Okay, so let's switch vessels. We're going to turn SAS off in the hopes that that will not cause any issues. And I think we're going to just do this with ship manifest. That's a little bit easier. Liquid fuel and oxidizer. And the destination tanks. I want to fill up pretty much everything over on this side. So let's see, what are you? You are just the gigantic space Y F1 something or other. Yes, indeedy. With 20,000 liquid fuel. Oh, that 2,600 number was my oxidizer, not my fuel, so... Oh, here we go. This is the... I'm not looking for this way, I'm looking for this way. So it looks like I could give up all of my fuel, which I don't really want to do. I want to save about... Well, it cost me a little bit more than 2,000 to get here, so let's leave myself with 3 or 4. So let's say 16.5 fuel. Transfer. There, that leaves inside this 4,000 fuel. I can give a little bit more than that. Let's give another 1,000. Yeah. Yeah, that'll do. Although, actually, now that I think about this, so that's good for this. So let's take this out of the equation and stop looking at the honey badger parts. Because the bus is just going back down to the surface. It doesn't need a huge amount of delta V. Yeah, so this, honey badger. Okay, so this, yeah. So that can finish up this fill. Transfer that over so that these have their full capacity, which is just what we are looking for. Okay, so let's see how we did. So that's all done. Gersey is floating off. Let's unhook this. Luckily, nothing broke, nothing shook apart. It was all wonderful. Whoa, that was maybe close. I can't really tell in 3D space. But we are now going to... I will just slide right up, unlink. And I'm going to grab this port. And we're going to put this right back on the fuel tanker. There you go. Bonk. All right, so let's check some delta V values if I separate things. But first, if you wouldn't mind getting back in. I like the glowing lights on this now. That's pretty fun. I think that's from the indicator lights mod, which is a really handy sort of thing, which gives us all sorts of options for lights that actually mean things on our vessels. Okay, so I am going to save, and this has 1304 meters per second of delta V, which should be plenty to land in a very specific location, like that. I like that quite a bit. And now, since we are just about ready to ship off to Duna, let's undock this. This, I will push it away a little bit. It has 3,000 meters per second left of delta V. That is fantastic, just fantastic. I love it. And this has a completely full tank, some 20,000 units of fuel and oxidizer, which gives it 3,000, well, 2,000 meters per second of delta V, because it thinks these are active, and I don't want this even to be, actually, two things. First, disable crossfeed. I don't want this to get its fuel eaten up, and we are going to shut down these engines. And now our staging's all messed up. So let's put this down here. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so I think I have 2,500 or so. It says 2672 meters per second of usable delta V. So I think that I can trust that. So let's transfer Durless over to this. And then we are going to go ahead and undock it so I can shift it to the other docking port. Set it as target. Back away a bit. This, I believe, is something that the that ships do on the ISS. If not frequently, then it's something that does definitely happen. Because sometimes they need to move vessels that are attached, because they'll have like Soyuz craft and Progress craft and Dragon capsules and Cygnus capsules and things like that, all attached at the same time. And I think when they were attaching the beam expandable habitat module not too long ago, they had to shuffle things around quite literally, and ooh, come back. This thing is moving a little bit sluggishly now. But they had to move some vessels around, I do believe, to get everything to fit. Whoops, what are you doing? Oh, ha! That explains a lot. Okay. And ka-chunk. There we go. Now that is going to be balanced as far as... Why are the engine's so weird? Yeah, it keeps messing up my staging, which I guess I shouldn't be too surprised by. Put these engines down here. And we'll have all this up there, and that's fine. Wonderful. And then I want to make sure that we are not cross-feeding. Disable, yeah. Disable cross-feed, we'll leave that there. Cool. Don't auto-strut, don't be weird. Transfer Durless back to the main module. Turn this off, and this is how we are getting to Duna. How exciting. This is extra mass that I don't necessarily need. Let me see how much I would gain by getting rid of that here. My thought is I want to bring this along just in case I need to use it around Duna, but I may need to drop that just to save the mass. Let me see. So 2857, and I think that's erroneously including some of this. But if I were to undock that, 2898. Yeah, so it's definitely including the removal of this vessel. So I think I can probably anticipate something like 2500. Let me check my Delta V map. Okay, so we can anticipate that it's going to cost us about 1,000 and then 130. So 950 plus 130 to get into a hyperbolic orbit around Duna, plus another 250 to get into an elliptical orbit, and then 360 to get into a low elliptical orbit. So that's 1690. Which I don't think we actually have enough to do this with in that case. So even in best case scenario, we don't quite have enough fuel. 45 minutes of screwing around with trajectories later. All right, so in 3, 2, 1, there we go. We have the first of 2 burns that we are going to be doing to get out towards Duna, and what I've decided is that our margins are pretty razor thin, so we are not going to be bringing any additional mass. So I've released the that additional lander descent module bit, and I will just be leaving that in orbit a minute, and we'll figure out something to do with it later. I discovered that I just do not have as much fuel as I thought I did, and I think we're going to be able to get ourselves into a decent transfer that is not going to be too terribly expensive, but I was having a little bit of trouble getting it to work, so we're going to see how we do. But what we are doing first of all is, instead of trying to leave directly from Minmus's orbit and impart all of our delta V that way, what I've done is I've dropped us into an orbit that skims the surface of Kerbin. So let's bring it down a little bit more. So we are skimming the surface of Kerbin at about 80 kilometers, right about putting our periapsis right about at the point that we would actually be leaving for our transfer burn to Duna. So let's see how I've done as far as that's concerned. There we go. Now add our periapsis. There, that gets us to escape velocity much faster, much easier. Set Duna as the target. And like I said, our goal here is getting there as easily and as cheaply as possible. So I surely could spend a whole bunch of fuel getting there quickly. What I'm more interested in is getting there cheaply, because I'm not sure how much fuel we have. I'm trying to avoid needing to send a fuel tanker over, but I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be able to get away with not doing that, because I think, as over-designed as this thing is, it is not great as an interplanetary vessel because it just doesn't have the fuel. Okay, so mathing this out, our escape burn, or our trans-Duna injection burn, is going to be 237 meters per second. So incredibly slow for the because we are actually in a very high orbit already, and we'll be falling back down towards Kerbin and kind of slingshotting off of its gravity to get that boost. Then I will be doing a little bit of a mid-course correction burn of 47 meters per second, just to bring our inclination down so that we are coming in level with the equatorial plane of Duna. Finally, a 1,134 meter per second capture burn around Duna, and that's about as good as I could get all these numbers to add up. So if I add these up, let's see, we have 2717 minus 237.1 minus 47.11 minus 1134.79. That gives us 1,298 meters per second of delta V to get back home, which I think should be enough without refueling. I think. We're gonna try it, guys. I'm excited. Alright, so in just 5 days, 3 hours and 28 minutes, the Starlifter shuttle and its crew is going to hit Kerbin's periapsis, and accelerating down at incredible velocities, the crew will fire up the engines and leave Kerbin's orbit on the next swing around, and they will be headed out towards Duna, and hopefully we will be able to accomplish everything we need to on our way out there, and do so efficiently enough that we actually have enough fuel to get home. So we will have to see how that goes. There may be some daring heroics that we need to do to get that to work. But first, Bill is almost home. He is coming down rapidly on the, he only has 8 days left of habitation time, oh noes. But he is coming down fairly quickly over the over Kerbin. Yep, and we are already about to capture, but I am going to, as I recall, I do have a parachute, right? I don't have a parachute on this thing. Didn't I have a parachute? Well, I guess I don't, so I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture, and then we're going to send something up to rescue Bill. Thankfully, Bill has enough fuel in his return vessel to capture around Kerbin's orbit and stop himself from burning up in the atmosphere. So we're gonna park just on the top of the atmosphere here. Do I even have enough fuel to? No, I don't even have enough fuel to fully circularize like this. So, all right. So this is completely dark. Can't really see. But this is the rescue craft that we're going to be using to pick up Bill. But first, let's match our inclination with Bill's craft as best as we can from here. So I actually would like to see the rendezvous window, just so I can see relative inclination. Okay, down to about 1 degree, as good as we can get from here, because we passed the descending node on the way, but that should get us pretty darn close. So, what's the best way to do this? Probably to base it on another pass around here, I think. If I go up high, I could come back around and meet it right there, it looks like. Alright, as we come around to the node, let's take a look at this vessel finally. So what we have here is, I'm using the lovely cryogenic engine. The Chelyabinsk has a monstrous 465 second specific impulse. Pretty low thrust. It's about half that of the Terrier, I think. Isn't the Terrier 90? Something like that anyways. But it's very low, but it's very efficient. So with just one of these Centi 3 hydrogen tanks, which you can see is using lots of electric charge to keep from boiling off this fuel, I got like upwards of 2,000 meters per second of delta V. So pretty similar to what you can get from a Terrier, but I just love these engines. They're so pretty. Like, look at the detail in these in the engine model and in the hookup and everything else, and this actually extends. Ah, I love it. All right, so let's adjust our. Gosh, that got all funky again. Oh, there it is. So let's just adjust that with RCS. Just some little taps on the RCS brings us nice and close. Beautiful. Oops. Easy now. Oh, I saw 0.0. Oh, that's so awesome. Ha! I don't think I've ever managed that from this far out. That's pretty neat. Pointless, but neat. So this is a fairly simple craft that has a Mark I command pod and some radial parachutes to get this down, and it also has a claw so that it can grab onto the derelict return craft that I thought I put parachutes on and deorbit it, because this has enough fuel to do both things. So, but I think that is all the time I have for this episode, so we will have to get to the rendezvous and deorbit in the next one. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and leave me a like and subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next one.